Hey guys, welcome back to the DrCliffAuD vlog. This is vlog number 24, my lucky number. So for today, we have a very special guest. This is my wife, Ashley, and I wanted to introduce her to you because she is actually a really pivotal person in helping me accomplish all the things that I'm trying to do. And so she's kind of like my right-hand woman, so to speak. So Ashley, say hello to the viewers.
Hello guys. Nice to meet you, and I'm thrilled to be on here today. I always wondered when my YouTube initial introduction to YouTube would be, and today's that day, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, for lucky vlog number 24. So the reason I wanted to bring her on is because she has a unique perspective on everything that happens, both in my clinic, Applied Hearing Solutions, as well as the DrCliffAuD thing that we've got going on. So, but really before we get into that, I just Ashley want you to kind of let the viewers know, give them an idea of your background.
Sure. So my background is in medicine. I, for the last 12 years, have worked as a nurse. And actually, I was working as a nurse even before we were into the audiology industry. I worked full-time as a nurse during Clifford's undergraduate and as well as his graduate studies. And
she basically paid the way for all schooling, so.
Well, you know, I don't know, we kind of worked well, and we worked that out together during that whole process. But the last almost 5 years, I've actually been working while we were here in Phoenix, working at the Mayo Clinic here in Phoenix, Arizona, up until about, what, December?
It was like November or December.
November, December.
You had been helping out and doing different stuff before there with the clinic, but
yeah, that I can talk about that too. That was interesting because I would say probably the last 6 months of my employment at Mayo Clinic, I was working as a nurse there, but I was also in between doing my nursing duties, answering emails, having to take phone calls, and kind of navigate some of those things that were involving the clinic. So that was always kind of interesting. So when that started happening more often, I knew that my time at the hospital was coming to an end because I just needed more time than...
Yeah, there was just too much stuff going on. You would come home all stressed out because not only did you have a tough day at work, but you had all these other things that were happening.
Yeah.
Because I think at that point we had just launched the DrCliff Approved Provider Network, so you're doing a lot of network administration and stuff with that.
Yes.
Which kind of leads me into the question, so what is your role at Applied Hearing Solutions? So the clinic, what's your role there?
So my role at Applied Hearing Solutions took me a little while to really figure that out, but as I reflect on that, I would say that my role at the clinic is Director of Operations, and that is because I'm kind of the eyes and ears of Clifford while he's inside seeing patients. I oversee all of our processes and protocols. I come up with different strategies to make our clinic run more efficiently and think of ways that we can provide that patient experience even better. And so I come up with ideas, and I have meetings with staff, and they help me to execute those ideas so that we can be a better clinic and provide a higher quality of care and a higher standard of care.
And so it's really important because, I'm literally trapped inside of my office almost all day long because I'm really treating patients, right? So that's that's my main job, is to, when I go into the clinic, I'm treating patients. Of course, when I first started the clinic, there wasn't a whole lot of patients to treat, so I would have a bigger hand in actually how, the front office kind of functioned, making sure that, when someone comes into the clinic, they don't just get a good experience when they're in my room, but they get a good experience throughout the whole entire process. And that's something for me that I really struggle with because I just didn't have the time to ensure that everything was going smoothly and that we were trying to uphold this really high level standard in the front office. And so that's kind of where you've helped out a lot.
Yeah, and I think, there's a lot of experience that I have from working in medicine for all of those years that I can really take away and apply to our practice. As a nurse, I worked for 4 different institutions, and every institution I was involved in customer service classes that were required. So, customer service is always something that's on my mind, and I know that direct patient care from the providers is really important, but there's so much more to that experience and the patient's perception and just overall feel of how their care is being approached and managed. More so that happens outside of that appointment or, clinic room with your audiologist. So I kind of take that experience and really kind of hone in on like what the front office part is doing, what we can improve on to even make that more, I guess, a better experience for our patients.
I mean, it's really important, right? Because, I mean, if someone calls the clinic, I mean, the first point of contact is not me. People might be asking for me all the time, but I'm always with patients, so there's nothing we can do there. So we need to make sure that things are set up in a way that, we're not just kind of, brushing people off and their questions off. We're trying to get those questions answered, but we're trying to make the whole entire experience from the time that you walk in our door to the time that you leave, and then even after you leave, that experience that you're having outside of just being treated with hearing devices is really good. So so it's actually had a huge impact. And what are we? We're in June right now, so it's been about 6 months.
About 6 months.
And there's been a lot of changes in 6 months. A lot of stuff that we were not doing very well. Self-admittedly, I mean, I wasn't able to kind of make sure that things were being done in a certain fashion. So Ashley has really helped out with that, and the staff has been really on board with that as well.
I mean, that's really been important too, is because anytime you bring someone new into a clinic like that, there's lots of changes, and not always are individuals just receptive to change. So that was kind of interesting to navigate how we could implement all these changes and do it in a way that was kind of subtle but inclusive of all of our staff, so they felt like that they were being considered in all of those changes as well. And I'll also say that, working in medicine, sometimes as a nurse, depending on what department or what kind of physicians and support staff that you have with you, you don't always, have that consideration towards you. And so that's always been a very sensitive thing for me, is that when we're making changes in our clinic, I like to consider not only our patients, but also our staff, how that's going to affect their job, how that's going to increase their responsibility and their role, and really just kind of like highlight, their greatness and the appreciation, and helping us really provide this, white glove, high quality, and a higher standard of care for all of our patients. Like, they are a part of that.
And I think that they've been really on board with that, because they see kind of, I don't know, they see probably my passion when I bring to, treating patients with hearing loss. And I think that kind of, that inspires people in the sense that, they see how much I care about it, and it makes them care even more. And so they've been really receptive, I feel like, from day one, you coming in there to help out. So, but that's not all that you do. So, so you have a full-time job there, basically, and then you have another full-time job is really the network administrator, and you're kind of like an editor as well for the DrCliff channel. So kind of explain what you do there.
Sure. So, when I transitioned into the clinic, well, first of all, my office in the clinic is kind of funny. It's like a storage room. So, it's a bigger storage room than what you'd think. But I just have a little desk, and I sit back there, and I try to organize my day to some extent. But that's still in progress, learning how to organize when you really have two jobs. So for the DrCliff Network, it initially started out as we launched our provider network, doing a lot of like computer stuff, different computer entry than I had done, like with medical records and nursing. So I do a lot of that for our providers. I respond to a bunch of emails. All of our providers, if they have any questions about anything, they usually contact me first. I'm not an audiologist, so if I have any questions that are audiology specific, of course, then I touch base with Cliff about that. Let's see, what else do I do?
But I mean, there's a lot of providers in the network, and it's growing all the time. So you're having to kind of stay on top of that. I mean, people are sending in calibration records to show that they have the proper equipment to perform best practices.
Organization's a big part of that, keeping all that.
And there's no like software program that actually does this for you. You have to kind of develop your own thing. That's the thing about, starting up something that's completely brand new, is that you just kind of have to figure it out, which is like my favorite phrase of all time. Just like, you got to figure it out. Like there's no template for us to follow. So, and you've done a good job kind of navigating that with literally like no structure. You just have to figure it out, which is completely different from nursing, which is where everything is super structured.
Yes.
But it's not that way as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, so yes, in nursing things are structured. However, you do have to be able to have some critical thinking skills, because like not all patients are, it isn't like we're an algorithm, right? So you do have to, think on your toes quickly. But as far as like policies and procedures, those are all written out for you. You know exactly how to do certain tasks that your job requires. But for DrCliff, there was no policy and procedure manual, that we kind of had to create that on the fly. I would say that we're probably still creating that. I mean, it's a new company. I am doing a complete 180 from the job responsibilities, from direct patient care, assisting physicians, to creating like web pages for our website. So like part of me feels like a web developer to some degree. I mean, I'm sure that's not quite what I'm doing.
Yeah, thank goodness we have a really great web developer.
We have a really incredible web developer that has really kind of been like a mentor for me, and he tells me exactly how to do things so that I can work independently, because that is one thing that a lot of nurses, they like to work independently. That's, they don't always have someone there by their side saying, okay, next step, do this, get that.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Chris Erickson, we'd be in trouble. That's for sure. So.
Yeah. So, the other thing that I do, so Clifford,
hey, we've got a dog that probably wants to come in here. So why don't we go ahead? Let's get her, bring her in.
She's barking. Okay.
You should be good. Come on, puppy.
All right.
So this is the kind of the funny thing.
Okay. Come here.
Okay. All right. We happy now?
So the real boss of Applied Hearing Solutions and the DrCliff Network is Charlie Girl. Okay, there's no denying that.
Yeah, she's the mascot. Usually when I'm filming up here, you're down there with her to keep her quiet.
So she's not usually up here bothering Clifford while he records. So the other thing that I do for the network is I have recently started editing Clifford's videos. And I think that kind of started because I'm trying to find ways that I can take some work off of Clifford's plate. And selfishly, I think that was because if I do that, then it gives us more time to go for trail runs or go out to dinner or things like that.
Except during COVID-19.
Except for COVID-19.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's helped out a lot because, I'll get done with a tough day of scripting and filming, and then I don't have to jump right into editing anymore. So I'm not like editing till midnight. Basically, those videos get passed off to Ashley. Ashley does the rough editing. She gives them back to me for me to go in and do the final edits and overlays and all of that stuff. But that has saved me hours of time each week. And I think it's actually made the videos better because I'm not super fatigued like I would normally be during the actual editing process.
But I like it. I think it's fun. It's something that, if you were to talk to me, 6 months ahead of all this, like, and tell me that I was going to be working at our clinic full time and that I was going to be editing YouTube videos, or heck, even be in a YouTube video, I would probably have just like rolled my eyes and laughed out loud, because I mean, I've been around medicine all of my life. I have worked in medicine for 15 years, and 12 of those I've been a nurse. So that's just what I did.
So what's it like? This is a question everybody wants me to ask, which is, what's it like being married to a YouTuber? It's great, right? Like, it's just nothing but awesomeness.
What's that phrase? It's not all roses and unicorn and rainbows. I don't know. But so being married to a YouTuber, although it has been full of lots of fun opportunities and new adventures, it does come with its own challenges. And I would say there's more positives than there are negatives. The important thing is that when you identify some things that might be negative is you have to really be strategic on how you...
So what are the negatives?
So one of the negatives is it literally is a full-time job. So my husband has 2 full-time jobs. He's an audiologist at our clinic, and he's a YouTuber. And so I think our YouTube channel, is it 3 years old now?
I think so. Yeah, it's roughly the same age as the clinic because I started them right around the same time. So
I feel like if I could go back in time and like just watch our life over the past 2 years, you have literally worked, I would say, almost every weekend. So like if we wanted to go up north to the mountain or go to the ocean for the weekend, like that is really hard. Like it takes a lot of planning because, you know, our viewers, which we think are incredible, are, you know, they like our content. And when you get that content kind of in a habitual, like twice a week, or heck, some YouTubers, it's every day.
I don't see how they do that. Like they'd have to be full-time do nothing else.
Yeah. So it just takes some more planning. And I would say that that's probably my biggest riff with YouTube. Well,
we've had to cut down. So we've cut down one day in the clinic for me to start and do stuff on Fridays, which has turned into an administrative day where I have a bunch of meetings and phone calls and stuff like that.
I will say though, I really try to not make every Friday full of phone calls and Zoom calls, because I know that part of doing that was so that we could actually have time and
spend time together. Yeah.
Spend, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, you have to, you know, forego some things to.
But you know, there's positives in there too, right? I mean, even though if I'm home and we're sitting next to each other on the couch, I have my laptop and I'm scripting or researching or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I mean, you could have a job where, you know, you're gone for months out of the year and I don't get to see you. So
yeah, like
I count my blessings.
I could still be in the military. That would be completely different.
Yes.
Like that's tough.
Yes, because when we were kind of, you know, just first meeting, you were actually overseas.
Yeah.
So we just talk on the phone, you know. So yeah, I definitely often will think about, like, you know, this might be annoying, but I'm thankful that it's not like this. So I'm thankful that you're here, and you know, whenever we do want to plan a vacation, we just have to kind of look at the schedule of how many videos we have and how that all works out. So.
Yeah, so like if we go out for a weekend, that means that the weekend before and the weekend after, I have to do an extra video on those if we still want to keep up the regular posts that we do on that. And then, you know, there's a lot of information that individuals with hearing loss need to know. Yeah. And so, like, you have to get that information out there for them because, you know, every video is answering a question for another individual. So that stuff's important, and I get really passionate about that, which is why I'm okay with giving up all of my free time. Obviously, there are things about that sucks, right? But so how long do you think we can keep this up for? What's the future like?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think that our YouTube channel, I think it's going to be around for a while. I think what we'll probably try to do is even scale your time even more in the clinic down so that we can actually, you know, start doing more DrCliff stuff during the work week. And I'll be honest, the day that comes when we don't have to do DrCliff on the weekend, we won't know what to do.
Yeah, well,
I think it'll be.
I mean, I love seeing patients, like in the office. I love treating patients. Yeah. I love making content because that helps people outside of just our small community or outside of Arizona, which I think is even more impactful than me being in practice here when you think about it, right? Yeah. The network is super important to me. I think that it's very important to have a lot of great providers around the country who can actually provide treatment for individuals with hearing loss that don't have to come to me to receive that. So there's a lot of things that I'm super passionate about, and right now I'm just more passionate about those things than I am having leisure time. So, but I do understand that like you can only burn the candle from both ends for so long.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see, because I think that we're going to have to, after maybe even a couple more years, we're going to have to figure out a way to kind of back off on some of the stuff that we do and not have our hand in so many things. So
right. We'll have to be strategic about who we bring on our team as well. We'll have to have some really solid, individuals working for us to, that we trust essentially to run our companies when we're not there all the time. And those are going to be really big shoes to fill. And I'm up for the challenge though. So
good. Good.
One of the things that I also just wanted to talk about was one reason that it's been easy for me to leave medicine and transition over to DrCliff and to our clinic is because, as a nurse, well, first of all, best practices you hear about them all of the time in hospitals. I mean, it's kind of the bread and butter. And there's so much regulation and so many things that hospitals have to abide by.
Governing bodies that actually regulate and
and I could go on about that, but I think the reason why it's been really great stepping away from that, and although I loved it, I am really passionate about working for the DrCliff Network and working for our clinic, because one, we are trying to inform the consumers of best practices to become a more informed consumer so that you can make the best decision for your hearing healthcare needs. And I like being a part of that. I believe in that. I believe that everyone should have access to best practices, and I feel like we're making that possible. And I'm proud of that, and it fulfills that need for me to where in the nursing industry, like, we follow best practices like very precisely so that our patients can leave our hands better than when they first came. And I feel like at our clinic that's what we're doing, and by implementing best practices and paying attention to those details so intricately, we're able to fulfill that. And I'm really proud of that. It takes a lot of effort on your part and a lot of effort on all of our other staff members at the clinic. And I think it's fun. It's fun to see all of that really, produce great results for our patients. So
you feel like you're making a change and making a difference.
Yeah, you're making a difference. And I think as a nurse, like, you feel like you're making a difference because you're really, as a nurse, you're right by people in their most vulnerable moments in life, and they really rely on you so heavily. And sometimes I would spend like 5 or 10 minutes with one person, and I feel as if I've known them for their whole life, and so that just brought so much joy to my life, which has been, you could argue to say that that's been one negative about coming to the clinic, is that I'm not doing direct patient care. So I will step out of my little closet and walk to the front of the office, and you'll usually find me chit-chatting with patients, which usually means I'm delaying their appointment time.
Or making it okay that I'm running late, you're distracting them.
But I like to sit down and like talk to our patients, not about hearing, just about their life, what they've been doing, just to get to know them, because I really enjoyed that part of being a nurse. So there's a lot of great things that I love about what I'm doing now. And whenever I start to kind of miss, working in medicine, I always just remind myself of all the really great things that I'm involved in and that I get to be a part of in our clinic and in our network, and what the future holds, which I think is big stuff. Like, I think we have big visions for what that could look like, and It's exciting.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So, well, hey, thanks for jumping on with me today.
Yeah.
You know, and getting all dressed up on a Sunday.
I know.
You know, in your Sunday best. So, guys, that is it for this week's vlog. Of course, if you have questions for me or for Ashley, make sure that you leave them in the comment section. Let me know if you want me to have her back here regularly, or if you know you like me just way better.
Or Charlie.
Than you like her. Or yeah, and if you want to see more Charlie, she actually is going to be in a video here this next week. One of the DrCliff AuD videos. So you get a little sneak peek to the cute little fluffy animal that's going to be in that video. So, but guys, you know, to watch more of these videos, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And as always, we'll see you next week.